We're going to do a well-ordered language lesson this week. This is going to continue introductory prepositional phrases, but starting next week we'll start conjunctions, compound subjects, compound verbs, but right now we'll just do a lesson over introductory prepositional phrases. This week you'll also have a little quiz to do. It's going to be a pretty different format than we usually do for quizzes because you'll just do it multiple choice and choose the correct answer. So we'll walk through page 111 from your book today. The pages that you'll work on this week are 110 to 113. And kind of like the lesson we did last week, I want to walk through the instructions, what to expect, and then go through our analysis process for 2 of the sentences. Then I'll also post the answers so that you can check your work for the rest of the workbook pages. First of all, it says on page 110 that you need to choose a correct preposition to go in the blank for the prepositional phrases that are given. So all prepositions, so these prepositions that you'll be choosing, a lot of times there's only 1 or 2 that could possibly work in the sentence. If you're not sure of exactly the right one to choose, you could sing the preposition list in your head and stop at the one that would make the most sense. For example, sentence number 1 is blank a cave. I'll do it down here. Dad found an arrowhead. Okay, so think of a preposition that would work here. There could be a few different options, but there are some that definitely won't work. So aboard, about, probably not, above, across, after, against, along, among, around. Around could work. You could find something around a cave. Another one that would work possibly is near or beside, but since around was the first one that we stopped at, I'll go ahead and just put that word around. That is one way for figuring out what is a good preposition to go in the blank here. You can also look in the back of your book at the list of prepositions and quickly just see which one would make sense about a cave. You could also say inside a cave, that would work. In a cave, outside a cave. There are a few that are directional, and so any of those would work for this sentence. So you'll do the rest of those, and I will post some answers. You don't have to have your answers match the answers that are going to be from the book, but those are possible answers. Okay, now on page 111, we've got some sentences to analyze. So let's start by reading it together. In the barn, the farmer had 3 horses. Picture that sentence. In the barn, the farmer had 3 horses. You might be picturing Farmer Boy right now. We know that Almanzo and his family have horses and colts that Almanzo especially loves. In the barn, the farmer had 3 horses. Now, are there any prepositional phrases, class? And I want you to say, yes, ma'am. In the barn is a prepositional phrase. Remember that we're doing introductory prepositional phrases, so it's pretty easy to identify them because we're always, I'm going to grab a different color marker since that was not showing up well. So we're going to, with this unit, always start with a preposition, but in the future, you can just be thinking through the preposition list song, and the more and more you do it, the more you'll be able to immediately recognize a preposition when you see it. So in is a preposition. For the object of the preposition, I want you to think in what or in who. It's in the barn. Barn is our object of the preposition. The is an adjective. Okay, we're going to read the sentence again since there are no other prepositional phrases, and we're going to look for our principal elements next. In the barn, the farmer had 3 horses. This is a sentence and it is declarative. This sentence is about, I want you to think of it and then tell it to me out loud, who or what is doing something in the sentence. Farmer. So farmer is the subject because it is what the sentence is about. I want you to think next, what is the farmer doing here? In the barn, the farmer had 3 horses. This sentence tells us that farmer had. So had is our predicate because it is what the sentence tells us about farmer. Okay, had can be a helping verb. So some of you might be thinking, that's one of our helping verbs from our helping verb song. In this case, though, it's not helping a different verb. It is our predicate verb because it's showing that he had or possessed or owned these 3 horses. It is a predicate verb because it shows action. There is no linking verb because predicate verbs do not need linking verbs. There's also no helping verb, which you should pretty quickly see because there's nothing between the subject and predicate verb, and it's not an interrogative sentence, or else there might be a helping verb at the beginning. Okay, now let's see if there's a direct object. Does the sentence tell us that the farmer had something or someone? I want you to say it out loud. What did he have? Horses. So, this sentence tells us that farmer had horses. So horses is an objective element because it completes the meaning of an action verb. It is a direct object because it tells us what farmer had. So we label it with DO. Okay, the last 2 words are just going to be our modifiers. So let's start with the. The is an article adjective. We usually are right before the word that it's modifying. And in this case, yes, it's modifying farmer. We'll say, so the tells us which farmer. It is an adjective element because it modifies the noun. It is an adjective. Okay, articles are always adjectives. Next, the word 3. What is 3 telling us? In the barn, the farmer had 3 horses. It's telling us how many horses. So we'll say 3 tells us how many horses. It is an adjective element because it modifies a noun. It is an adjective. You can sing your adjective song in your head if you're stuck on what questions these are answering. So an adjective is a part of speech used to describe or define the meaning of a noun or a pronoun. It answers the questions how many, whose, which one, or what kind. Should be echoing back. It modifies a noun or a pronoun. It modifies a noun or a pronoun. Okay, so those are all of our words. However, what did I forget? Our prepositional phrase is an adverbial element that modifies our verb. So in the barn tells us, would you say how he had the 3 horses, where he had the 3 horses, or when? Where would be the right answer. In the barn tells us where he had 3 horses. It's an adverbial element because it modifies a verb. It is an adverbial prepositional phrase. Okay, that is our first sentence. Next, I want you to move on to sentence 2 in your book on page 111 as we we identify the words of this sentence. So we'll start by reading it. Over the fence, the noisy neighbors talked with the farmer. Picture that. Over the fence, the noisy neighbors are talking with the farmer. Okay, so are there any prepositional phrases, class? If you're not sure, run through the list of prepositions. Aboard, about, above, across, after, against. Okay, what are the prepositional phrases? There's actually 2 here. First, we have over the fence. Over is a preposition. Fence is the object of the preposition. If you got confused about what the object of the preposition is, you need to think over what or over whom? Over the fence. The is an adjective, modifying fence. Okay, that's one of our prepositional phrases. What's the other prepositional phrase? Over the fence, the noisy neighbors talked with the farmer. Run through that list of prepositions in your head, sing your song if you need to. What's the next preposition? With. Okay? Now, the noisy neighbors talked with what or with whom? Farmer. So our prepositional phrase is with the farmer. Okay, with is a preposition. Farmer is the object of the preposition. The is an adjective. Okay, now we're going to read through the sentence again. We have identified, look at this, over half of the words already, just with prepositional phrases. But we still need our principal elements. Over the fence, the noisy neighbors talked with the farmer. This is a sentence and it is declarative. This sentence is about, what would you say this sentence is about? Neighbors. So neighbors is the subject because it is what the sentence is about. This sentence is telling us that neighbors what? Talked. So talked is the predicate because it is what the sentence tells us about neighbors. Okay, as you can see here, there's nothing past talked. We don't have a direct object. So all we have left are some modifiers. The and noisy are the words that don't have labels right now. So what are they doing in this sentence? Over the fence, the noisy neighbors talked. Is it telling us something about neighbors or something about how they talked? Now, noisy might confuse some of you thinking it is sort of about how they talked, but noisy is an adjective. If we made it an adverb, it would be noisily, using that ly suffix. So noisy is modifying neighbors. Would you say it's describing how many, whose, which one, what kind of neighbors, I would say. Okay, and then the is always an adjective. It is modifying our noun that's closest to it, neighbors. And if you have a hard time with that, read through the sentence again and think the what or the who. Over the fence, the noisy neighbors talked with the farmer. The neighbors. Finally, we need to identify the prepositional phrases as adverbial prepositional phrases. The adverb questions are how, when, where. So, does over the fence tell us how the neighbors talked, when they talked, or where they talked? Let's say where they talked. Over the fence. I could see you saying how for that one though. How over the fence, but it is kind of describing the place where they're at. So over the fence tells us how they talked. It is an adverbial prepositional phrase. And then with the farmer. Does that tell us how the neighbors talked, when they talked, or where they talked? Let's say how they talked again. With the farmer tells us how the neighbors talked. It is an adverbial element because it modifies a verb. It is an adverbial prepositional phrase. Okay, I'm going to post the answers. So once you're done with the well-ordered language pages, check your answers for the rest of the sentences. If this was a little hard to see at all, I am also going to have the answer to this page posted as well. In page 112, I also wanted to point out, it says what is an object of the preposition. So let's review that jingle because you can just write the words to the jingle for your answer to that. The object of the preposition. The object of the preposition is a noun or pronoun after the preposition. So write those exact words for what is an object of the preposition. And that's about it. I think the rest of it should be straightforward for you. Let me know if you've got questions, but also you can check your work in the PDF that I'm going to link. I'll talk to you later. Bye.